What's up and welcome back. Today we're talking about the new changes to the bounty system in Red Dead Online that Rockstar didn't announce. I'm Bandit Barney, bringing you everything you need to know about Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Online. Thank you for joining us. The new system, bounty system, has been very controversial, and I think in order to see the full scope of it, let's go back to when it was first announced. And the big question was, how is this going to affect hunting for a lot of players? If we can't see where the player blips are, how are we going to know where's a good spot to go hunting? Then moving forward to when it was actually released, there was a lot of outrage because through the first 4 or 5 days, it felt like griefing was actually a lot worse prior to the bounty system being released. So this is supposed to come in and help us prevent from the griefers, and it ends up doing the opposite. Griefers are much more popular. Now, I don't know if this is completely related to the bounty system. I think a lot of this had to do with the new update coming out. A lot of players not being happy about it and then being really bored with the game, kind of losing hope. And in the last few days of playing, they just decided to go around and, have fun with the new system, griefing players, testing out what it was like fighting off bounty hunters and things like that. So I think it was much worse in those first few days than it was, later on once the system kind of settled in. I don't feel like it was as bad. As far as the hunting goes, I'll speak on it personally. When I go in to film some footage for playing, generally what I do is I go in and go hunting, and I normally just load into free roam and go hunting in that area. I haven't had any issues with not being able to hunt in an area because another player is there. But on the flip side of that, they did nerf hunting, so I don't think there's as many players out hunting right now. As well as, I haven't gone hunting for cougars or panthers, which are kind of the high market items. Those are the ones where you would really be deterred from hunting there if there was another player. I've been just doing general hunting in areas, and I've been also trying to go to some more remote areas. So I don't have the best voice on that as far as how it's affected hunting. You can let me know down below. Overall, though, it's been a very controversial thing, this new bounty system. In its raw stage, when it was first released, it was really questionable. Is this really helping us in the game? Is this what we asked for? Now, a lot of the community wanted the private lobbies. That's clearly something we still haven't gotten. And at this point, it doesn't seem like it's something that Rockstar plans on putting in the near future. The bounty system was kind of the compromise between having private lobbies so that you don't have to deal with other players being griefers, and then also, keeping everyone in this Wild West world and having that environment where, there's outlaws around. You gotta watch out because there's outlaws around and they could affect you. So this bounty system was the compromise, and it's a pretty in-depth system. Clearly one that still needs more work. And that is actually something that Rockstar is doing. They have been listening to us to some extent on hey, the bounty system is just not addressing all the issues that we have with it. And in the most recent update, the one where they added spoils of wars. Oh, so many wars, so many spoils. So when they added spoil of war, what they've done is they've actually gone in and made it so if your bounty goes too high, you're not able to join in on different modes and activities. So right now, from what we know from a few Reddit users, and I've asked on the Discord, a lot of us don't actually get above a $10 bounty. Generally, if you're racking over a $10 bounty, you're either messing up NPCs for the fun of it, or you're actually going around just trying to grief as many players as possible. For the most part, that's not what a lot of us do. We just go in and enjoy what's there in Red Dead Online that we haven't been burnt out on yet. For those of us that have gotten over $10 bounties, you've noticed that you're not able to join in showdown modes when you have that bounty high enough. So it looks like Rockstar's going in and adding deterrents to these different areas of the game where it's even more now hey, at a certain point, you gotta stop the griefing. You can't be griefing. So this is all fine and dandy, right? This is really, really nice that now we don't have players who are just racking up, $20, $30 bounties, just griefing the crap out of everyone, not giving a worry about it because they're level 100 and have all the money they need, and there's nothing left for them to buy or yada, yada, yada. They don't care about having to spend money on a bounty, and they're just going around doing that. Well, now it's not just that you have to pay that bounty, but you also can't enjoy some of the other areas of the game if you rack up that high bounty. Good, nice. It's another deterrent. But this still leaves the one big question, where it's like, okay, well, what do we do? How do we defend ourselves against someone who's griefing? When that person has a red dot on them and they come and grief me, why is it that I have to pay the price at that point? Now, I think a good option for Rockstar would be, hey, make those red blips if they grief someone that you don't get a bounty when you fight back. Right? That sounds like a pretty good idea. I won't get a bounty for fighting back and protecting myself against someone who's planning on griefing me. The downside is anyone who's got a red blip then could easily be the target of other griefers. Because if I know that I'm not going to get a red blip and I'm not going to incur a bounty for shooting a player who already has the red blip, then it's going to be super obvious, you know, that players are just going to go hunt down those red blips. Now, I don't think you would do that. I know I wouldn't do that, but the whole reason for this bounty system is that there's a portion of players that are just griefers. You know, it's an entertainment aspect for them. And if they can get away with it completely and go around the rules, that's that much more entertaining, and they're going to do that. So how do we implement a system where players who are planning on griefing can't force other players who are just trying to go about their game in their day, doing their own thing, to get bounties? How do we do that? The red blip idea is kind of cool, but at the same time, it could be easily abused to hurt players with red blips. And you could say, yeah, well, those players griefed someone else clearly, so they deserve it. Well, I just feel like if this was the case, right? If this was the case, then we would lose that aspect that I think Rockstar is trying to preserve of keeping this game like a Wild West game, keeping it like the feeling that there's outlaws around. Like you gotta be careful. It's the Wild West. Life isn't as easy. Law and order is not a big a part of the daily life. You gotta watch out for outlaws. If outlaws just get abused to Kingdom Come, then the game's gonna be this thing where every player is super afraid of other players, because if they get a red blip, they're not going to be able to play in a lobby for the next 30 minutes, an hour, and it's going to really deter players from keeping on playing in case they get that red blip. So these two things, you know, going hunting, not being able to see players when you're going into an area to go hunt, and then how do I defend myself when I get a bounty? These are the two things that still need to be addressed around the bounty system, and it'll be interesting to see where Rockstar takes it. And I also want to make a note that it's really cool to see them making these changes. I'm surprised that they're not announcing a change like this to the bounty system. I don't know why they wouldn't let us know in their update patch notes, you know, hey, we're also doing this around the bounty system, making sure that players who incur a bounty level high enough, the $10 mark to get bounty hunters on you, that you cannot go into other activities. I'm not sure why they're not announcing that. There's been a few things in these last updates that they've just kind of like ghosted on us and not said anything about. One, the most noticeable being the hunting nerf. I'm not sure why those things are not being announced, especially in time when the overall general feel is that Rockstar isn't doing enough, right? Like that's just the general feel that people are getting, because a lot of people aren't happy with the game. So if people are feeling like you're not doing enough, why not tell them everything you're doing? Why go around and kind of sliding these things under the radar and, you know, not announcing, hey, we're putting an effort to change this, we're putting an effort to change this, especially with the bounty system being something that's been, I mean, it's hard to be the most controversial thing when the hunting nerf was so controversial, but when that bounty system is like that big core, you know, game mechanic that you've added to the game, and it's not smoothed out completely right now, why is it that you're not announcing, hey, we're working on making that bounty system better and better each day? Now, they did say in their patch notes the other day when they updated with Spoils of War that they've adjusted their feedback page and they want to know more feedback, but this is something that they've really announced in every update they put out, so it doesn't feel like anything new regarding, you know, like, hey, specifically the bounty system still needs work done on it, so these are things that we're thinking about doing. These are things that we're actually doing. Thinking about doing is a place where Rockstar is not going to go. They're never going to share with us, you know, what their plans are for the future of the game. That's just not who they are, which is interesting. It's very surprising that, you know, they are like the one developer nowadays that gets away with not communicating with the community at all. Other than, hey, this is the changes that came to your game today. And even then, they don't tell us all of them. So they're the one dev that gets away with that. But it is interesting that when there's so much bad things being said about the game right now, that you don't come forward and say, hey, there's so much effort that we're putting in on fixing these things right now, just give us some time. Now, I know that a lot of a feeling from the end of the optimistic communities, the optimistic side of the community, is that, hey, it's still in beta, give them time, the game's gonna be great. And I think that's true. Unfortunately, that's not how gaming works today. Gaming, when you come out with the game, you have a period of time to execute, and if you don't execute, you're gonna lose a lot. Rockstar, I think, will be able to come back around and gain a lot. It's just sad to see, you know, we're even seeing some Red Dead 2 YouTubers just stop posting because, you know, the content's just not there. There's not a lot to be created around it. Regardless, I'm very excited to see that Rockstar is putting a foot forward on working on the bounty system. They're clearly working on getting this game to the place where it needs to be. I said clearly, it's not very clear, but that is the sense that I'm getting from these changes that are coming in. I hope that it's true, and I hope that, you know, I hope that the next thing they announce is something really big and that it's not drip fed in. It just kind of seems like a quick ticket out, you know, like the easy way out to drip feed updates that are already ready to come to the game. But it's working so far. It's giving me a little bit extra content each week to talk about these things that are coming in. Hopefully, something big comes to the game in the next month, or at least we see, you know, them talk about, hey, this is the next thing that's going to come. They've done that before with the previous big update. I hope to see something like that, because right now the drip feed is adding some good things, but it's just not quite enough, I don't think, to maintain the community in a happy state. Thank you all for stopping by. I really appreciate you, and until the next time, take care.